Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we are covering the National Disaster Management Authority, okay, which is an organization that manages a disaster at the national level. These are the topics that we have scheduled for the discussion under this particular series, like starting with the definition part. Thereafter, the disaster happened over time. Thereafter, the causes of disaster. Okay. Thereafter, the impacts of disaster. Okay. Thereafter, the elements of disaster management in India. Thereafter, establishment of the NDMA. Thereafter, the objectives of the NDMA. Thereafter, the functions of the NDMA. Thereafter, the additional functions of the NDMA. Thereafter, the State Disaster Management Authority. Thereafter, the District Disaster Management Authority. Okay, so these are the topics that we have scheduled for the discussion. If we talk about the topics that we have covered so far, so basically we have done with the definition part. The topic on which we have been discussing is the disaster happened over time. And the topics we are left with is the causes of a disaster, impacts of a disaster, elements of disaster management in India, establishment of the NDMA, objectives of the NDMA, functions of the NDMA, additional functions of the NDMA, the State Disaster Management Authority, and the District Disaster Management Authority. Alright, so these are the topics that we have scheduled for the discussion under this particular series. Okay, so basically we will start from where we had left, but before this, let us revise that what we had discussed in the previous lecture. In the previous lecture, we were discussing upon the natural disaster, alright, and basically we had discussed that encompasses all forms of severe weather and natural phenomena, okay, that could pose a significant threat to the property, infrastructure, and the public safety. Thereafter, we had discussed that these disasters often lead to the periodic instability, which means that for a certain period of time, the things would be unstable, it could not be put to the normal that easily. Thereafter, disruptions would be there, and financial loss would be there for the affected areas. Okay. Thereafter, we had discussed about the volcanic eruptions, the floods, hurricanes, earthquakes, landslides, tsunamis, cyclones. Okay. Thereafter, the tornadoes, blizzards, wildfires, and pandemics. So these are the things that we had discussed in the previous lecture. All right. In this lecture, we will start with another important topic. Okay. That could going to be the man-made disaster, also called as artificial disasters. So that is going to be the topic for discussion now. So what are the man-made disasters? What are these? So basically here, by the name only, you could conclude that these disasters are not having the natural cause. Okay, the natural environment does not cause these type of disasters. So these disasters are basically caused by the man, the human. All right. And here also in the formal definition, you could say like man-made disasters are the events that caused by the human actions. Okay. So basically the main cause behind the man-made disasters are the human actions. All right. And these actions could be justified on the basis like maybe that was done intentionally. Okay. Like, for example, we can take an example. Suppose there is a person, all right, who is living in a area where they practice the jhumi cultivation. All right. And as we had discussed, like in the zooming cultivation, the farmer, the person who is going to cultivate the field, generally he cut down the trees, make a plain field, then he burned the cutting trees and the ash spread it over the field and use as a fertilizer. All right. So now the person who is there, he already aware about it. Like he already know the temperature is high. If he burn the trees, might be the fire could spread to the nearby areas. But still, after this, intentionally he burned the trees. Okay, for his profit, for his benefit. Then the disaster that would be caused, that will be a man-made disaster. Why? Because the disaster did not occur naturally, it occurred because of the human action performed by that particular person. And this human action is intentionally. Why? Because the person was already aware about the climate, the temperature, and the possible potential causes that what could happen. Still, he burned the trees. Okay, so that is intentionally. After this, negligent. Okay, like you can say the person already know that there is a heavy rainfall. Okay, and if he did not meet a particular boundary, the river would be overflowed. Or you can say, suppose, just take a higher example. All right, there are the persons, they are the staff. There is a staff. Okay, they are working on some dam, some hydropower project. Okay, and the hydropower project holding the water like 10,000 gallons, for example. The 10,000 gallons is the total water that has been, or you can say 10 lakh gallons is the total water that has been holding by that particular dam. Okay, then what happened? The dam capacity to holding the water is 10 lakh gallon only. But due to the heavy rains and over accumulation, the capacity is raising. Or you can say not capacity, but the water storage is raising. But the capacity is fixed. The receiver, the dam could only hold up to 10 lakh gallons. But due to some factors, the level of water is on the rise. Then what should he do? He should manage the level. Okay, he should release some water so that the water capacity could be maintained. But the staff negligented. They did not pay much attention to the rising level of the water, and then suddenly what happened? The pressure over the water became that immense that the dam got failed to holding the water for a more time, and it was breaked. And whenever the dam was break, what will happen? The water comes out to the plains. Okay, and that will be a flood situation. All right, so that what we called as a human action in the negligent form. It means that the staff was already aware about the water receiver capacity to holding the water, yet they ignore it. So because of this, the dam got damaged. After this, the accidental. What is it? Maybe the person who is hiking in the forest, all right, and while hiking, he was smoking some cigarettes. Okay, and after finishing his cigarette, he just threw it to the ground without diffusing it. Then cigarette is burning, and when he will throw it to the ground, and there are the dry leaves and the sticks, then what will happen? The cigarette will spread the fire over there. All right, and because the person neither intentionally nor negligently did this thing, so that will be accidental form. It means that accidentally he threw the cigarette, accidentally he burned the fire. Okay, involving failures in the man-made systems. All right, and now we are going to take some examples of the man-made disasters. Okay, so let's start. First is the fire. Okay, And the fire is the uncontrolled fire in the urban or the rural areas, often resulting from human negligence or accidents, okay, causing property damage and the loss of life. So if we take the example of negligence accidents, then we could say, for example, suppose you are living in a building, okay, and as per the standards, every building should have the fire controlling measures working at all the time so that in any adverse situation, the immediate help could be ensured. That should be the system. All right. But the builder who had built that particular building and all, okay, the builder negligently ignores the set principles of fire controlling. Okay. And he built the building in a way that basically the fire could not be controlled that easily. And then what will happen? The fire breaks out. All right. And because, as I have told you, the building was not as per the standards, like the fire could be controlled, the fire spread it out, not only causes the damage to the property, but also injured people and also takes several lives. So that will be an example of negligence. It means the person who is building the apartment was well aware about the set standards, still he ignored it for his some profit and all. After this, accidental. How it is? Like for example, you can say you are living in an apartment, all right, and your neighbor was using the gas cylinder in his kitchen. We know that gas cylinders are to be used very carefully because they contain the LPG, liquid petroleum gas, okay, and this is the highly inflammable material that could catch the fire very easily, okay. So when he was using the cylinder, so basically accidentally he left the cylinder open, all right, he did not close it. Then what will happen? The LPG that was under the, or you can say that was inside the cylinder, that would come out and spread it over the environment. And then suddenly when the neighbor burns out the matchstick or the lighter, because the LPG is already in the air, the LPG will react it with the air and catches the fire immediately. All right. And that would be a case of accident. It means that person not intentionally did this, but because of his some action, the fire was caused. Okay. So here we have finished the fire one. Another is the cybercrime. Now cybercrime, what is the meaning of this? So basically to understand this, let us understand the internet first. Like during the 1980s, that was a time when the internet came into the picture. Okay. And internet is basically a service provider, okay, that connects the digital devices, okay, so that you could do the searches online, you can purchase the things online, even various computer things that we practiced every day that are solely operates on the internet, okay. So now you could understand like how important the internet is for the socio-economic and other aspects of life in the professional field as well as in the personal field. Okay. Okay. But this internet is not only a boon for us, but also a ban. Why? Because the internet could be used for positive things as well as negative things. Like illegal activities could be carried on through the internet. Because nowadays the internet has become an internal part of the people's life. Okay, no one could survive without internet. So basically, the elements of our society, or you can say the bad elements of a society, they usually targeted the persons through the internet. Okay, and that called the illegal activities running by the internet. Okay, so this could be done by internet or any digital means, such like hacking, identity theft, data breach, disrupting services, and compromising the securities. Hacking means like you are running your bank account, your email account, even you are having the account on some social media platforms like the metaverse, like the Instagram, like the WhatsApp and all. All right. So basically all these things contains the information about your personal life. Okay. Personal, social, economical and financial life. So basically if someone hacks the account, whether it's your bank account, whether it's your WhatsApp, whether it's your Instagram and all. So basically the person could easily threat your personal privacy, right? So that is the first thing, like hacking. After this, identity theft. It means that they could easily, you can say, took away your identity if you are using it on the digital form. Okay, and that identity could be used to do anything in your name. Thereafter, data breaches, it means that basically someone has, you can say, thefted the data and stolen the data, disrupting services and compromising a national security. Because various services nowadays are offered online. So basically, if the disruption of services could be happen, that would be a disastrous thing. Okay. After this, the civil unrest. So first is the large scale protest and the riots, right? So you will ask, the large scale protest and the riots, are they really a disaster and how they could be disaster? So basically to understand this, the simple definition of disaster would help us. Okay. And that definition I'm going to ask you. Like, what is the simple definition of disaster? What do you understand by the disaster? And to answer this, basically you have 40 seconds to think and answer, and your time is going to restart now. I had already told you, like, what do you mean by disaster? You are only required to tell it back to me. Okay, 20 seconds have been passed off. Last 20s are remaining. Okay, the time's up. So basically, if we go with the simple definition of disaster, then disaster could be any natural phenomenon or any man-made thing that could poses a significant threat towards the life of the people as well as the property of the people. I'm repeating again. Disaster could be any natural phenomena or man-made activity that poses a significant threat towards the life of the people and the property of the people. So basically, if we put large scale protests or riots in this scenario, then basically they possess a threat towards the property of the people. Why? Because many times you have seen the protesters, the rioters that were, you can say, doing the protest against some cause. They generally targeted the local vehicles that were standing nearby them. They burned them, they crashed them and all. And basically the vehicles are the property to someone. So if these kind of things were happening, so basically the person property is getting lost. Even in the large scale protests and riots, various cross gang warfares also happen. And during this, many people got injured severely and can put to the death. All right. So basically the large scale protests and the riots are also comes under the category of disaster. Thereafter, large scale protests and riots. After this, any other form of public disorder, often leading to the property damage, injuries and disruption to daily life, they all are considered under the disaster management authority or disaster management basically. After this, the terrorism, and yes, the terrorism is the world's, you can say, most important man-made disaster nowadays from the security point of view. Why? Because terrorism is the act of violence or intimidation carried out by individuals or groups to achieve political or ideological goals, causing fear, loss of life and damage. Okay, like political means the protesters were demanding the separate state and they wanted their separate government. That is called the political. Ideological means they were spreading their ideology and as the matter of their ideology, they are causing the damage to the lives of the people as well as the properties of the people. Okay. Similarly, war is also the disaster. Why? Because again, as I have told you, any natural phenomena or man-made activity that would affected the property of the person as well as the life of the person. So during the wars, the properties generally get damaged. During the wars, the lives also got claimed. All right. So armed conflict between the nations or the groups, resulting in widespread destruction, loss of life, and long-term social and economic impacts. Thereafter, biological chemical danger. The release of harmful biological agents or chemicals, either accidentally or intentionally, posing health risk and environmental damage to the sufferers. The biggest example of this is you can say, Bhopal gas tragedy. Last is the cyber attacks. Deliberate attempts to disturb, damage, or gain unauthorized access to the computer system, networks, or data after is resulting in financial loss and operational disruption. So basically, understanding the nature impact of both natural and man-made disaster, this is crucial for the effective prevention, preparedness, and response strategies to mitigate the effects. Okay. So students, basically in this lecture, we have finished a layer. In the next lecture, we will continue from there. Till then, just revise the facts and figures that all we have discussed in this lecture. Be ready for the another lecture. Okay. So with this note, let's end this lecture and thank you.